Shabbat Shalom. And Mazal Tov to all the babies and the birthdays and all the smachot. It's so wonderful to be celebrating so much this morning. In my home on Saturday nights, there are two different energies that happen, that emerge when Shabbat ends. For my children, there's a lot of excitement. Shabbat is over, woohoo! I can go to my devices, I can text my friends, I can pick a movie for movie night. But for me, I am much less eager to return to the world of electronics and the internet. And I'll be honest, there's often more of a feeling, not just of not excited, but really a feeling of dread. There's, anticipating the onslaught of emails and the notifications, the pinging. In my home, we don't use electronics at all on Shabbat, so I've been blissfully unaware and unassailed for 25 hours. So the email and the text and the WhatsApp and of course the news that I've missed over the past 25 hours. So especially these days, and especially these past 2 weeks, really, the end of Shabbat has been really, really challenging, really heavy, because I have to go back into the world. Shabbat is over. But I do wonder, what will I discover when I open my phone or my computer? Did the ceasefire hold? Did the hostages who were supposed to be released, did they actually return to their families? What new chaos has been unleashed in our country and in our world? What unbelievable, previously unbelievable reality has come into existence? Many of the words of Havdalah, the ceremony, the blessings that we say at the end of Shabbat, address this sense of existential anxiety. And these words were composed long before the internet. Hinei el yeshuati eftach velo efchad. God is my salvation. I will not fear. I have trust. I have bitachon and trust. We say words from two of our most redemptive moments in our nation's, our people's ancient history. Words that we will say next week when we chant the Song of the Sea after the Exodus of Egypt. Ozi v'zimra tiav vayihili lishua. God is my strength and my song, and I will have salvation. And we also say the words from Megillat Esther, from the book of Esther, recalling our narrow avoidance of annihilation at the hands of Haman. La Yehudim hayata orav simcha v'sason vikar. And for the Jewish people, there was light and joy and gladness and happiness. And then in the Havdalah, we add the words, Ken tieh lanu, and so it shall be for us, so there shall be for us. So our tradition really understands that when we leave the world of Shabbat, when we leave me'ein olam haba, the taste of the world to come, that Shabbat is, and when we transition from the world as it should be, Shabbat, back into the world as it is, as we contemplate the work that is laying before us in the week to come, we need a little chizuk. We need a little spiritual strengthening, a little boost. And there are several songs that are traditionally sung after Havdalah, and they're all kind of in the same vein of invoking a sense of well wishes and blessings and hope for strength and for peace and for redemption. And one of them, which is, I think, less commonly known or less commonly sung, is a beautiful acrostic of anonymous authorship. It weaves fragments of biblical verses that express blessing and words of comfort to our ancestor Yaakov, to Jacob. And there's a refrain. The song is traditionally sung in a call and response. And the refrain is 4 words. Al tir'a avdi Yaakov. Do not fear, Jacob, my servant. Now this phrase, Al tir'a avdi Yaakov, it appears 4 times in all of Tanakh. Once in the book of Isaiah, and 3 times in the book of Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, including twice in the Haftarah that we are about to read. And you can see this on page 398 in your Eitz Chaim Chumash, if you want to take a look. This promise, or this call, Al tir'a, do not fear, it comes after yet another challenging set of verses. Like last week, the Haftarah is challenging. It's a description, another description of the downfall of Egypt at the hands of the Babylonians. And it mirrors some of the imagery from the Torah portion this week, describing the Babylonian army as more numerous than a swarm of locusts, for example. And like last week, the moral question that arises as we read these words is, can we really take pleasure in the downfall of our enemies? How can our sacred texts really celebrate this violence and this destruction, even of those who have harmed us, enslaved us, sought to kill us, and did kill us? Last week, before Martha Acklesberg read the Haftarah, she reminded us of Joe Blumberg's beautiful, thoughtful commentary as part of BJ's Haftarah project, and I would refer you to that and also refer you to Sharon Anstey's beautiful and thoughtful commentary this week as part of our Haftarah project that addressed this important question, this sort of moral difficulty with our text. But I want to focus on a different question that emerges from the Haftarah. After we read about Egypt's downfall, why do we have these verses, Al tir'a avdi Yaakov? Why are we told twice not to be afraid? Shouldn't the description of Egypt's downfall, of Egypt's destruction, be enough of a comfort? Why do we need these additional words? What do they come to add, to teach us? So the phrase Al tir'a avdi Yaakov, these 4 particular words, as I said, appears in Isaiah and here 3 times in the book of Yirmiyahu, of Jeremiah. But the first 2 words, Al tir'a, do not be afraid, they appear numerous times throughout the Tanakh. And if we look back to many of those appearances, particularly the ones in the book of Genesis, we'll find that the words address not so much a sense of fear or dread, but more of a despair, more of a sense of cynicism and despair. And I'll explain why that is in a moment, but first let's just think for a second, what is the difference between fear and dread on the one hand and cynicism and despair on the other? I would argue that dread and fear are about the immediacy of the moment. Dread is anticipatory, but it's anticipatory of something imminent, something that's really about to come, or we're concerned, we're fearful is about to come. And fear is an emotional response to what is happening in the moment. So fear and dread are about what's happening or what's about to be. Cynicism and despair are more future-focused. Cynicism, a loss of faith in the goodness of people. And despair, a loss of faith in the goodness of anything, in the possibility of goodness. Things are horrible, and nothing can change. Things are horrible, and no one can change. So when God takes Avraham out to look at the stars and says, Al tir'ah, I will make you a great nation. When the angel comes to Hagar and says, Al tir'i, your son Yishmael, he will live and he will become the father of a great nation. When God says to Yitzchak and to Yaakov, Al tir'ah, your offspring will be numerous. What's being communicated there, the words are not so much addressing a sense of immediate and present fear, but more of an existential despair. What will be my future? What will be the future? Will things ever be okay? And the words Al tir'ah come as a reassurance to that much more existential and future-looking concern. In our Haftarah, when God says to the nation, Al tir'ah, it is to curtail this despair. It is to preempt the question. Israel has been destroyed, Egypt has been destroyed, but now what? What will become of us? You don't have to ask that question, God says, Al tir'ah avdi Yaakov. In an interview this week, Karen Apfelbaum-Riff, who is a rabbi in Jerusalem with the organization Mabua, which works to build kind of new models of Israeli Judaism and Torah study throughout the country, she spoke about the need for faith, emunah, in this moment to counter the posture of cynicism and despair. Cynicism, she said, is a way of being in which we see the world as much smaller than what is really there. We look around and what we see in front of us, we can't even fully see it. We only see things in a very contracted and limited way. And faith, she said, emunah, is the posture that counters this worldview. You can think about this physically. Cynicism is a contraction. Faith is an openness, an expansive view, she said, when we look at the world and we actually see things beyond what's right in front of our eyes. We see a bigger picture, a future of possibility, even if we can't see those details right now. We see the possibility of possibility. Communities, she said, have an outsized role to play in the cultivation of either one of these worldviews. The people we surround ourselves with, our leaders who guide us, they can help us cultivate a worldview of smallness, of contraction, tzimtzum, and despair, cynicism, or they can help us cultivate a worldview of emunah, of faith, of openness, the ability to imagine possibility. So Al tir'ah, I would say, is an instruction. It is an instruction that guides us toward that posture of emunah, that posture of faith. And it's something that we can take on as individuals, but really we can only truly accomplish in community, as Rabbi Apfelbaum-Riff said. One of the most extraordinary images from the news this week, maybe you saw it, was of Agam Berger, one of the hostages who was released on Thursday. And in a photo of Agam and her parents, Meirav and Shlomi, in the helicopter from the Gaza border on the way to the Rabbi Medical Center in Petach Tikva, Agam is smiling. It's an amazing smile. I really urge you to go look up this picture after Shabbat. And she's holding up a whiteboard. You see some people nodding. You saw this photo. She's holding up a whiteboard on which she has written, B'derech emunah bacharti, u'v'derech emunah shavti. I chose a path of faith, and I returned through a path of faith. This is very chilling. We learned that for Agam, what it meant to choose, or part of what it meant for her to choose a path of faith, meant taking on Jewish practices that were new to her, that were not part of her Jewish identity and Jewish practice previously. During her 482 days of captivity, she began to say brachot, she began to say blessings over food. She refused to cook on Shabbat, which her captors were demanding that she did. And this is not the only way to choose a path of faith, of course, but it was her way. It was for Agam. She linked herself to the larger story of the Jewish people, to a worldview of possibility that has characterized our people for millennia. This was Agam's way of answering the call of Al Tir'ah. Incredibly, her experience is echoed directly in the words of the Haftarah itself. If you look at verse 27, Ve'ata al tir'ah avdi Yaakov, ve'al techat Yisrael. But you have no fear, my servant Jacob, be not dismayed, O Israel. Ki hineni moshi acha merachok. I will deliver you from far away. Ve'et zaracha me'eretz shivyam. And your folk from the land of captivity. V'shav Yaakov v'shaket v'sha'anan ve'en macharid. And Jacob again shall have calm and quiet, with none to trouble him. There's so much to be cynical about right now, and there is so much to allow us, if we let it, to despair. But we are not a people of despair. Am Yisrael, from Avraham until through Agam Berger, we are a people of emunah. We are a people of faith. We are a people who will choose a path of faith over a path of despair. So while we're still a few hours from Shabbat and Havdalah, we are here together in community right now. So I want to invite you for just a moment to join me in a practice of cultivating emunah, and choosing faith over despair. On page 285, this piyut that brings in the verse from our Haftarah, Amar Adonai leYaakov, a call and response. So please respond, and let's sing together. Amar Adonai leYaakov, al tir'ah avdi Yaakov, bachar Adonai beYaakov, al tir'ah avdi Yaakov, ga'al את יעקב. דרך כוכב מיעקב. הבאים ישרש יעקב. וירד מיעקב. זכור זאת ליעקב, אל תירא עבדי יעקב. שבת שלום.